I am the bringer that always talks negative. I am the guy that says the words that I feel to my heart. I am the guy that hopes that hope will never die down. I am the angry anime fan and despair reviewer doing a bad copy as we finally got to see Darkwing Duck again in a way we would never expect from the Ducktales 2017 episode 11 presumably, although I would have said it's 13, but then again I think I'm gonna change some episodes like after this. Yes, this is the new DuckTales series. No, episode Beware the Buddy System. This is only technically a, a launchpad centric episode with only Dewey being the only duckling of the main trio to be here. Given the fact that Launchpad called Dewey his best friend, I guess it's not that surprising. But as I said before, this episode begins pretty strange with the Darkwing Duck returning. Yes, and still voiced by Jim Cummings, and even says his classic line that we all loved: "Let's get dangerous." Always loved that line. And in fact, many of the former villains, Quadayak and, sorry, I forgot their names, are voiced by their same ones. Although technically one is voiced by Keith Thurgenson, but then again he does this as a perfect impersonation that of that Dan Castella previously voiced, so you cannot hear any difference. Either way, it turns out that Darkwing Duck in the DuckTales 17 show is a show within a show, with the actor who's playing Darkwing Duck, Jim Sterling, obviously a reference to Jim Cummings and Sterling Howard, I think his name was. You know, Sterling was the man whose roles Jim Cummings succeeded. About them, of course, Winnie the Pooh. And Dewey is less than impressed by this show because this episode also has a very callback to the old generation, specifically when uh, Launchpad says the greatest show of all times. Huh, maybe when you were little, which is obviously a reference to us who grew up watching the Darkwing Duck show for reals. Either way, in this episode, Launchpad has gotten his driver license. Well, it's a miracle though that he has been driving up until now. So he hopes to go to Mr. McDuck and make him proud. But Mr. McDuck is busy in the lab together with Gyro Gearloose, who is still the little mad scientist he's always been. But this episode also finally shows us Fenton Crackshell Cabrera, voiced by none other than Lin-Manuel Miranda, the man of Broadway currently, as well as the man who did that wonderful soundtrack for Moana, and he still didn't win an Oscar for it. BS, my friends. Yes, pure BS that he didn't win an Oscar. He deserved that. Either way, but I got off topic. Of course, Scrooge doesn't really listen to Launchpad, and nor to Gyro until he hears that apparently Mark Beeks, who's the antagonist in this episode, has apparently created a self-driving robot. Skeptical, all of them go to see, and this buddy robot seems to be working very well. Especially when Scrooge shows interest in the robot, Launchpad gets worried and then decides and challenges the robot to a race to prove he's better. He tries to get help from Fenton, who wants to prove himself into Gyro Gearloose's eyes, because it turns out Gyro also has an intern who is the headless horse that has Scrooge McDuck's stone face on it. I gotta say, that is just so pure and creepy. But Gyro is quite a bad boss, I have to say. Quite a jerk on that standard. I mean, he is fun in this episode, don't get me wrong, but he's still a little bit of a jerk. As the room that Fenton works on, well, it's the toilet. Ugh. If that is not degrading, I don't know what it is. Fenton in this series is still a very adorable kind of guy, and a little guy who does things rationally without thinking. But he still has a good heart, nor is he the original Fenton was never an insufferable genius, but as I said before, many characters have different changes here. Fenton is not a jackass in this one, as well, more like the nervous kind of guy who wants to prove himself. And he tries to help Launchpad do things that Launchpad normally do not do. Because for Launchpad, he takes inspiration from Darkwing Duck and thinking with your gut, trust your instinct. That's the way he has always lived every single time. So he tries more strategic. Of course, that fails, and he fails the race, even though Launchpad shows some very quick improvisation in that race as well. Alas, though, the robot driver, when it decides to take Mark Beek's uh, and well, Gyro and Dewey and Scrooge away, it turns out that the robot actually is based on the bulb technology that Gyro used to create Little Bulb because Fenton posted it online. The only reason he did that was hoping to find someone who could correct the evil circuits that all of Gyro's robots have had. Of course, Gyro is not so happy about that, and neither are they more happy when it turns out that the robot actually does turn evil as soon as the as Scrooge, Gyro, and Mark Beeks are in the car because Mark Beeks was too lazy to remove the evil circuits. Disgruntled, it takes some time before Fenton and Launchpad realizes that their team is in trouble. And this is also the debut of Gizmo Duck, as Fenton calls the office with the missing horseman, horsehead one does calls. And the as we see, the Project Blatherskite is indeed the Gizmo Duck suit. But the thing is, Gyro never named him Gizmo Duck. It's Fenton who names himself Gizmo Duck, as he says Blatherskite through the telephone, and the gadgets fly over and merges with the Fenton, who chases down the car when, together with Launchpad, who decides to no longer trust thinking and planning, but instead with his gut, and that includes crashing, as he has always does. Working together, they manage to stop the car, but Fenton's identity gets exposed to Launchpad Dewey in that same time. As after the disaster is averted, Scrooge revealed he has no plan of firing Launchpad because, after all, he cannot find anyone who is like Launchpad, and congratulate him on the card. Although mad about Fenton's posting online, when as he realizes that pretty easily that um, Gizmo Duck is Fenton, he decides to keep Fenton working for him because only an idiot can pile that thing, since Scrooge has always had a problem with his robots that are probably too smart. Therefore, he needs an idiot to combat the suit. Of course, that's a very degrading way of talking, but hey, it's Gyro in this new series. It's also pretty funny how the way it says Gizmo Duck. What a stupid name. And you thought Blatherskite wasn't? However, the episode ends a little bit ominous as the comic relief villain Mark Beeks looks at the phone and realizes that when he saw Gizmo Duck, he saw potential. And he says for the first time with an ominous voice, "I must have it." Is this the first step to turn Mark Beeks from a more comic relief, annoying type of villain to actually a little bit more of a dangerous villain? Who knows? I mean, in the next episode in Mr. McDuck Manor, he was still the little dorky villain he always is. But he's slowly growing into the system of an original villain, so to speak. But yeah, he is interested in the Gizmo Duck suit. Does that mean he's gonna create a dark Gizmo Duck suit for himself? Mark Beast is definitely the type of guy who steals technology and then makes it his own. So who knows? All in all, a very enjoyable episode. I know I've been saying this about a lot of episodes lately. However, it was actually about time for Launchpad to get a centric episode, and this shows a lot of his character inside this new series. Yes, Launchpad is an immature man-child, but it's not because he's immature uh, with a disorder or something like that, or because he's immature because he's just that immature. No, he is literally just a man-child that has been growing up with wonderful things, such as the Darkwing Duck series, and taking inspiration from that. In a way, he's not emotional immature in the fact that he's psychotic. No, on the other hand, he is very extremely kind-hearted emotionally immature. He just doesn't. He lives in the moment, and he lives in the thinking with his gut, which is one of the reasons why he always crashes and stuff like that. Dewey is also in this one. As I said before, Launchpad considers him his best friend, so he's the voice of reason in this one. Other than that, he doesn't have a big role. Gyro coming back, that was very good, but he's still a little bit of a jerk, so even though that's not obnoxious yet, I still wonder though, is it possible that Gyro will have character development? Because I think even though a lot of his machines have turned evil, part of me also believe that Gyro, being that insufferable genius that he is not helping the cause either. And it almost seems like he is oblivious to the fact that maybe it is his genius, mad things that actually turns things bad in the end. Fenton Cabrera, yeah, it's an adorable voice. Lin-Manuel Miranda did a wonderful job in that role. Although he didn't really change his voice as Gizmo Duck, the question is, will he do that in the future? We'll see. Finally, what else to say? Oh yeah, Jim Cummings came back at Darkwing Duck. That cameo was what fans have been waiting for a long time. And no, I did not see this coming. I did not see a show within the show coming. The question is though, Jim Sterling, who is actually the guy who played Darkwing Duck in the show within a show, is it possible we're gonna see him? Or is it possible that we are gonna get a new Darkwing Duck series? Maybe they're gonna do a little twist, have a new Darkwing Duck that is mentored by the old Darkwing Duck, so we can have a new voice actor and stuff like that. Who knows? Either way, funny episode. I enjoyed it. You give me a false if you have any.